What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, what you should be watching for as time goes on, and how things are looking in my personal opinion for the upcoming week for NIO. But before I break the doubles information, before I give you guys any price predictions, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you are guaranteed 7 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, looking at NIO, you guys can see that right now NIO has a very, very nice looking uptrend. If you look at the 4-hour time frame, we're continuing to push very nicely, and it's still holding up very, very well. But looking at this, we are entering a very, very nice chop zone despite how much we've pushed as we have this tight resistance. In my video yesterday, I mentioned that NIO would likely see a lot of sideways price action up here, and there was potential for it to try to break 5.66 and go a little higher, but we actually didn't get that break just yet. So for NIO, I just want to call out that we've ran so much in such a short period of time. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing actually just continues to range trade for a bit before we try to get all the way up to about 5.8 to fill our imbalance. We did get some good news I want to talk about and why on earth NIO is still doing well, but let me first talk about a couple of things. So as you guys know, NIO had very, very strong deliveries. That's what helped fuel this rally, and we're getting some good news thanks to that. But for the week ahead of us, we have other factors that will affect the broader markets and also for NIO. So the first thing I just want to note is that I'm going to move this here. Firstly, for earnings, okay? For Monday, we have very, very minor earnings such as Palantir, Lucid. We do have Berkshire Hathaway on Monday that could actually help the markets. It's going to happen before the market opens, so we'll see what that causes. For Tuesday, we have Walt Disney. We have a few more such as Crocs and Nikola. Then we also have Rivian, especially after the market closes. Wednesdays when we have Shopify, Uber, and ARM, not to mention Airbnb. And then moving forward, all the rest of the earnings are kind of minor, at least for the majority of the week. Everything else is kind of minor as well. So I do see some big names in there, such as like Disney, but everything else is kind of like done with when it comes to major big tech earnings and such. For a couple of other things, I just want to mention that for Monday, we just have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and a couple of Fed speakers, and everything else is kind of minor. Nothing too crazy is going out for the first couple of days of the week. But keep in mind, we have Cash Card giving a speech on Tuesday. He tends to be one of the biggest hawks. So we'll see what that causes. And I think that all of this is in preparation for what's coming up later on. But that's all I'm really seeing, at least for the time being. Nothing too crazy, nothing too insane, at least for the markets. And we'll see if there are any more shifts for now. Going into the later days of the week, we do have bigger data, but I'll worry more about that like later on. For the fear and greed index, right now the market is still kind of fearful, getting very close to neutral. I think now the market momentum is becoming greedy as we're seeing buyers stepping in. We're starting to see the puts and call options ratio at neutral. We're still seeing puts being closed, and we're still continuing to see buyers stepping in as they're continuing to defend their positions. But I don't think that this move to the upside is going to last forever. I do think we will eventually shift, but we're not ready yet. We could still pump a little bit higher thanks to this. Market volatility is dipping as the VIX has more downside coming. I think that there is more upside for the markets thanks to that. For NIO, we got very, very nice deliveries. We saw over a 134% increase year over year with 15,620 deliveries. Not bad. The share price has been up more than 20% since we started the last couple of days. And also, Morgan Stanley has reiterated 100% upside potential for NIO, saying that NIO could go all the way to $10 a share. That is great news. That's Tim Hisao. I may be saying the name wrong. I apologize about that. But he has been doing research and he found that NIO has insane upside potential, more than 100% upside potential. And he's looking at $10 as a potential target for the stock. That's great news for them. They're also talking about how we're going to be getting very close to about 18 to 20,000 units per month. So that's another big improvement, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. In addition to all of this, we tend to see more volume at about 54 million. We tend to see more volume, at least on days such as Mondays. And right now, volume is still dipping a little bit as the share price is starting to chop a little bit. Short volume did decrease a little bit at it's about 60%. McGuire gave NIO a neutral rating. We're also seeing the price-price ratio increasing as NIO is gaining some strength. And finally, Mondays have a tendency of not being the strongest days. We're only green about 49% of the time. But historically, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, they do have a tendency of being a little bit more strong. So we'll have to, we'll have to see how things are kind of improving. I think that's very important that we see more and more growth. And I think that that's going to be very, very key for the way things end up moving. On top of all of this, I just want to mention that with the growth that's coming, I think that there's a lot more potential in these stocks. And I think that's the market's not done with this rally quite yet. So there could be more upside coming. but just be mindful as we approach some key resistance. So the 4 hour is bullish. NIO is trying to push higher here. We do have this chop zone that's worth noting. I could see it try to fill this imbalance at 5.8 and might actually dip a little bit, chop around in the 5.5 area beforehand, but then eventually I do see 5.8 at least attempting to come. So I do favor that a little bit more looking at the current trend on NIO as the share price is still, excuse me, the share price is still holding up very, very well. For SPY, I want to mention that this is still looking bullish to me. We got a decent close. We closed just under our resistance at 512, and these are the very important levels on SPY. If we break this 512 resistance, our next trend is going to be up to about 515, then 518 is going to be coming next. But we also have an imbalance at 516.8 and 518. But either way, upside does look imminent. So it looks to me like SPY on Monday, it's going to dip a little bit, then start to fight for 512. We'll have to see if this breaks. I do think it's going to fight for this. As long as there's no major bad news, SPY will likely continue up to about 515 if we break 512. If we lose 510, we turn back to bearish, and then 507 it will be expected, but I do anticipate it's going to try to push higher. I see more potential in SPY to go up. So that's what I'm seeing, at least for the SPY chart. As of right now, there is more upside potential for this, and this could actually get very close to 512 plus. And once that breaks, we'll be looking for 515. For Tesla, Tesla's kind of churning just a bit, but let me just make it very clear that right now, Tesla's still kind of stuck within this range, not really doing a whole lot. So we've been going back and forth and back and forth. We had support at about 178, and we have resistance at about 185. We've been going back and forth and back and forth. So there's not really a whole lot going on with Tesla, but I could see this thing attempt, attempt to rebound a little bit if it breaks 182. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla retests 185 and comes back down, continues to trade sideways. The news for the stock will determine if this thing gets a big bounce or not. And if we do break 185, we could easily push up to 190 to fill this imbalance in the 4 hour. So I'll be watching for this very carefully. But otherwise, we're kind of stuck within this range, and we'll give this a bit more time. For the QQQ, we are currently on a very, very nice uptrend right now. You guys can see we've actually broke this high and invalidated the head and shoulders like structure. And with this break right here, we have this imbalance to fill all the way up to about 439. Now, I think we could end up testing about 437 real quick. I think that's going to be a very, very key level. So like right here, this resistance, we have 436.5 to 437 coming. Breaking through this would open the doors for a bigger move all the way up towards 439 if we break 436.5 to 437. So I'll be watching that very, very carefully. But I think one thing I could do is actually redraw this. I am seeing this potential trend coming, that 437 range. So it kind of starts like right here, this resistance right here from 437 to 436.5. And I think that that's what's going to likely end up being the case. So if it breaks this, we'll be looking for about 440 as our next target. There is more upside potential. This chart looks bullish, so I do see that this could push higher, especially thanks to Aapl earnings. Look for a dip first and another potential push higher. Now, we're going to be approaching resistance, so I'm not saying the move is going to last forever, but I do see some potential. Aapl might dip a little bit, retesting 182, but I still think Aapl could continue to range trade for a bit. It is in a very, very interesting position. It was up very big, but we could actually dip a bit towards 182.5, then rebound and continue to trade sideways for the time being. And lastly, we have the one and only Nvda. So with Nvda, we've approached this resistance at 885. If it breaks through this, we're going to be looking for about 900. So look for a dip towards 880, then eventually a push for 900. I think Nvidia is going to try to get there, and I do think we could push a little bit higher. Now, remember, the last time we hit 900 to 908, we got a big rejection, so Nvidia could still see a big rejection in the future. But we're not ready to reject yet. We're still trying to push, so I do see potential for it to get close to 900 first before any kind of rejection starts. So that being said, that's what things are looking thus far. NIO has more upside potential, so we'll have to see how this goes, and we'll have to just be very, very patient in the process. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you guys have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day. I'll see you guys very soon in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.